webinar series for our Michell University. Today we're going to be working with SAP Business One, and we're going to be going over user-defined fields and user-defined tables. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this as well as others in our training series. For the purpose of the demo today, we're going to be working with SAP 9.0, but this functionality I'm going to show you is available in the earlier versions of SAP. One of the nice features that you can have in SAP is the user-defined fields and management. This allows us to customize and add fields and tables outside of SAP or unique to our business. For example, I'm going to open up the business partner, and I'm going to go to the business partner master. And you can see here, off to the side here, I have these what's known as user-defined fields. If for any reason these are not on, so for example, if I click X and I close the user-defined fields, you can always go to View, User-Defined Fields. Once they're on, they will maintain. So if I close the business partner and I reopen the business partner, you will see that the fields will be there. You can also do some stuff. You'll see some arrows here. You can put them on the right like this. You can also click here and add them to the left side of the screen. You can also go and add them to the bottom down here. Again, just personal preference. I'm just going to put them over here to make it easier to see. So let's just go ahead and call up a business partner. So you can see here we have some different types of fields, and I'll show you how to create each one of these types of fields. You can create just a general alphanumeric field that you can type information in. You can create fields that have a drop-down or a choice. Like for example, here we have red, blue, and black. You can choose one of these. You can also create a field that's linked to a user-defined table. What this allows us to do, if we click, you can see we can choose, and we can also define new. So here we can go in and we can add to this table if we want. And this follows the standard SAP. So if you notice, like when you go into a drop-down here, you see you have the tables with the define new. You have this information. These fields can be numeric, they can be numbers, they can be dates, and so on. They can be done almost anywhere in the system. So for example, they can be done here at the header record or at the header line here. In the case of the business partner, they can be done here at the contact. So you can see here, I created this one here with a yes, no. They can be done at the address line. So again, you can see here's a new field, a demo field here. Again, linked to a table. So you can actually do that. You can also do it within the marketing documents as well. Now, when we talk about that, let's actually talk about some of the structure of SAP before we get into it, so you can actually see what we're talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and talk about the structure of SAP. When you see master data, so for example here you're looking at the business partner master, we have the general ledger master, we have the item master, and so on. So we have these fields here. So for example, we have that. If we go into financials, we have GL account master, so you can see that fields can be added in here as well. We have our item master. So again, we can add fields into this one as well. You can see we have some fields here. And this is, again, could be customized. You can see here. Again, we have some field. We can also do it deeper into the system, so we can add it here at the rows. So that's what SAP, when they talk about the master documents, they're talking about those master files. The other thing, SAP uses the concept of a marketing document. A marketing document would be considered any of the sales and AR documents here, so sales quote, sales order, delivery, etc. Any of the purchasing AP are considered marketing documents, and so on. So if we look here and we go to, say, a sales order, again, you can see that we have two types. So you can see here we have the user-defined fields over here. And again, you can see this is a date field. This is a number field. You can see you can get the calculator here and so on. You can also have them on the actual line itself. So you can actually create fields within here. So if you want, you can all do inside here as well. So let's take a look at that. Let's see how we do that and how we actually arrange these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here into Tools. And again, everything I'm showing you is depending on authorization. So if you do not have authorizations to create or edit user-defined fields, you won't be able to do this. I'm just doing it with the authorization. So once I set this up, I can have it where people can't really make any changes to it. So I'm going to go here to Tools, and I'm going to go to the Customization Tools, and I'm going to go here into, you see the user-defined tables, I'm going to go into the user-defined fields management. And you can see, like I talked about, you can see how it's set up. For example, master data, if I open this up, again, you can see activities, blanket agreements, business partners, employees, items, users, warehouse, and so on. So for example, if we open up the business partner, you can see here is the business partner header. You can see the addresses, and you can even see the contact people. Now, when it comes to naming the table ID, you can see the titles. There really is no specific. You can do whatever you want, but what we recommend, best practices in SAP, is to use some type of coding. You can see these say MCG, Michell Consulting Group. We added these. What's going to happen with SAP is when you have add-ons, so if you have an add-on like a warehouse management add-on or the core suite add-on, typically those add-ons will create user-defined fields themselves, and they'll use some type of distinction here. So again, you don't have to, but it's just good to do it this way. So what I do is when I do this, every time I see MCG, I know that I created it. If one of my programmers happens to be looking, or the third party, let's say the publisher of that third party, that warehouse management, happens to be looking at the data, he'll know that these are my fields. So again, you can see the types of fields. So you can do an alphanumeric field, which again you can just type in. You can do dates and numbers and so on. You can see here I have them at the address. So that's the master data. The marketing documents, again, you have the title or the headers. So again, you can see those, what I showed you before here. And again, you can see that alphanumeric, numeric, a date, a quantity, and so on. And then you have here at the row level, you can see here, again, the ones I created. I created this reason code and this date. Once a field is created, you can actually go in here and highlight it, and you can click Update to make a change to it. So again, here, you're looking at the title. And again, I'm just using the MCG best practices, so I know that I did it. You can see this is the description. This is what you're going to actually see on the screen in SAP. This is called payment remarks. This is an alphanumeric 25 characters. And I'll go through all this stuff in a moment here. Let's call up the one that's linked to the table here. So let's go to master. So if I look at this type, you can see how it's linked to a table. So again, these are user-defined tables, and we'll talk about these. But again, I use the same best practice. Since I created, I'm going to call it MCG versus, again, third-party add-ons and others. So you can see how they all come in. These are all from the fixed asset module. So again, it just makes it easier. These are from the core suite module, and so on. All right. So again, it just makes it easier to figure out which ones are mine and what I'm working with. Okay. So let's actually create a new one. Let's go to Business Partner. Let's highlight it, and we're going to go Add. So again, we have our title. It could be whatever we want. I'm going to use the MCG _ Demo 1. This is the description. So I'm going to call this the new demo. Oops. I clicked. Hit return too fast. I already used that field, so let's actually do it again. Okay, I hit return too quick. The type. Here you can have alphanumeric, which means it's you can type letters or numbers into the field. It can be numeric, so it's only numbers. So again, you want to use it for adding purposes. You can do it that way. You can do a date and time. So again, beginning, ending, date, and time. You can do units and totals, so quantities and that kind of stuff. And you can also do just a general field with a link to, say, an image or so on. So let's go here and let's just do an alphanumeric. This is the length. I'm going to do a simple yes, no. So I'm going to make the length 1. All right, and then I'm going to go here and under my structure, again, what type of alphanumeric is it? Is it a regular just field? I can do an address. I can do a phone number. If I do a phone number, then you can see that the length goes away because it's a standard phone number. If I do an address, the same thing. I don't have control of the length. It's a standard one. If I go to regular, I can put it here. I can also set valid fields for this. So I'm going to say, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do a simple one. So I'm going to go new, and I'm going to put a Y with a description of yes. And I'm going to put an N with a description of no. Again, simple one there. Here, what I can do is I can set a default, because right now, if I leave it this way, it'll be blank. So I want this to set. I want to set my default to be no. All right, so every time I go in, it'll be no. I can also make it mandatory that they have to enter something. So if this is a mandatory field, they have to put a yes, no in the field. So you can also do that. So let's just add it. Now, every time we create a user-defined field, we're going to get this message. Since we're modifying the database, it's telling me the database structure has been modified. In order to resume all processes, all open windows will be closed. So you have to be careful if people are working on the system. What's going to happen if I'm in the middle of entering, say, a sales order, I'm going to lose my sales order, and it's going to go back to the menu. I'm not going to be logged off of SAP, but whatever I'm doing, that data is going to be lost, and I'm going to be taken to the menu. I'm going to say yeah, and you can see here I'm just logged in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore it. Now, if I ignore it, again, it's going to give me another warning. You're about to update user fields. However, there are some other connections to the company. All right, so it's telling me whoever these people are, they're going to basically go back to the menu. All right, so then there you can see our field. Okay, so let's close this for a moment. Let's go here to a business partner master data. Okay, and you can see our new demo field here, and again, you can see my default is no. See, again, I can do those changes, and I have my default. So again, very simple way of doing it. Now again, that structure here is just my choices, so I don't really have anything. But now this one here, if I look at something like this, it's linked to a table. So what I'm doing, I'm giving you a choice, but I'm giving you the ability to open up and create a user-defined table. To create the table is the same type of concept. You have to create the table and then the fields within that table. And when you create a table, you're always going to get, by definition, a code and a name, so you can continue on. So if you want to add more, you can add more. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's go back here to Tools, Customization Tools, and let's look at User-Defined Tables. And again, you would see that same type of structure, that best practice. And you'll see my tables in here along the way. So I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to call this MCG underscore new underscore table. I'm going to click Update. And again, I can also give it a name. I'm going to click Update. The object type, you're just going to leave it as no object for the user-defined field tables. We're going to click Update. Again, we're going to get this message. We're just going to ignore it. We're going to get the same message that it's going to take people to the menu. So that table already exists, so let's just go here and call it underscore 1. Okay. So now if we go find our table, you can see it right here. If we right-click, we would go to the user-defined field, manage it. And what this is going to do now, I've created my table, and it allows me to actually add to those tables. You can see here under the user tables, again, the ones we have here. And again, you can see that you can create for here, for example, new table. You can see how you have those added fields. So it works kind of the same way from, again, and you can access it. You don't have to do it through here. Once you create your user-defined table, you can go back. That's just a shortcut. And you can go here to the customization tools and do it here as well. It just gives you the kind of shortcut to go in it, but it's here under user tables. So here's that demo table I created. So again, we're going to highlight it, and we're just going to go ahead and add fields. So here I'm going to go. That's going to add the field. So I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to call it MCG first. I'm going to call it first name. And again, I'm just going to leave it like that. And so on. I'm going to not go through all these, but you can see how you now have that here. I'm going to update real quick. So what it's doing is when I create this, it's actually going through, and it's everywhere in there. It's actually updating the information. You can see here. And again, I just want to show you this is the one we created before. And again, you can see that. So you can again create that information here. So now I have that user-defined table. I can now link that user-defined table to an existing user-defined field. So if we go back to our master data, and we're going to go into business partners, and here's that field we just created. And again, we're going to take this off, and we're just going to go here, and we're just going to link it to my table. Click Update. Again, we're always going to get this message because we're modifying the structure of the database. So what it's going to do, it's going to tell you who's in the system. Again, everybody should be off, but what it's going to do, it's going to go in there and actually update everything. So what happens now is that when you go in, you'll get that information. So here, when you go into that table, you get the choices. I didn't update that. Let me go back again. let's just remove it and we'll do it again. We got a little error there because sometimes when you edit like that. So it's just going to go here. We're going to add, so I'm going to call it MCG underscore new underscore 2. New user defined field. So the same thing, we're going to set link to a table. We're going to grab our table. And I'm going to take it here, click add. And again, you can see it's here now. Now, if we go in, we'll see our new UDF. And again, we'll see our new. So again, you always come with the 2. It always comes with a code and a name, the tables by definition. So I actually added that one. So what I could have done, if I wanted to do, say, a first name, last name, I could have just gone here, which I'll do it right now. I'll just hold my control key and double click on the name, and I'm going to call this first name. I'm just going to, again, hold my control key and double click. And this is part of the navigation. We have to actually have a detailed webinar on that. What I'm doing is I'm just changing the field's name. Because, again, my tables always come with a code and a name. So let's just make it like that. Okay, so I can say code 100. And I can put John Smith, click update, and so on, code 200. So again, you're seeing how easy this is. And again, right out of the box, this doesn't require any customization from our standpoint. It doesn't require any programming. Again, it's a quick, way of just going ahead and customizing SAP. It's a really nice feature in SAP. You can see I don't really have to have a programming background. I just have to have a kind of a basic understanding of how the SAP structure works, how the menu structure works. So again, here you can see. And again, there they are. So there's John, and there's Mary, and so on. Okay? So again, very easy way of doing it. Again, these user-defined fields could be done at the master records side. It can also be done at the marketing documents. Now, when we do create these, they're available in all the documents. So let's say we wanted something unique to, say, sales order or unique to purchase order. We would have to go in and kind of customize what we want to see. We also know from our navigation is that fields in SAP can be visible and active. When I see a standard field, like for example, let's go into sales order, you can see here that when I look, you can see how let's find one that's open. You can see you'll see how the item description is kind of grayed out, it's visible, which means if I go here and I add an item, okay, and I tab, notice how the field jumped. It went from here and I tab, it skipped the warehouse and the item description. Because if I look at my form settings, you can see that I have my warehouse and my item description here are visible but not active. Visible means you can see them. Active means you can actually edit or do something with it. Obviously, you can't have a field active and not visible. It has to be visible to be active. So this concept works also with user-defined fields. I may want to have user-defined fields here that are visible and not active. I may want to not have them on the field at all. And again, I want to be able to change the order. Just like here, I can actually go and I can grab this warehouse and drag and drop it, let's say after the description. So when I click OK, you can see how I dragged and dropped that, how the warehouse is now after the description. I can do that same thing if I have a lot of user-defined fields. So for example, here, I have a lot of user-defined fields, so I want to kind of organize these. I want to put them on, take them off fields. I can also create categories, because I can have multiple different categories. So see if I go to new category, you'll see that there's a field here in the new category. If I go to general category, and I can, again, all categories. So I can range these. If I create a lot of user-defined fields, let's say I have 3 or 4 user-defined fields that are related to what prints, so I may want to create a category for printing and so on. And I can easily do that. And how that's done is by opening the marketing document. If you notice, I'm going to cancel this for a moment. If you go here to Tools, Customization, you'll see that the settings right now is grayed out. So what I want to do is I want to open up a marketing document. So again, I can open up the sales order because that's what I want to work with. So now when I go to Tools, Customization Tools, I now have my settings. Okay? And this is the settings for the sales order. So what I would do is I would go through. So if you create a user-defined field that's related to the purchasing side and not the sales, you would have to open up your marketing documents on the sales side, like the sales orders, quotes, and so on, and just make it here. You can see visible and active. So you can see this payment remarks is active but not visible. Okay, so you don't really see it here. So we can actually do that. And again, we can go and look at the order of how we want to see them. This we don't actually drag and drop. We just set the numbers. So, for example, you can see here the order number here relates to this. So if we want to make this one, say, 5, and make the 5 a 2, we can do that. We click OK, and we can see how the order changed right here. We can also do it with the categories, again, under Settings. So let's create a, again, let's go define new, and let's call this date. So we're going to make that the date. Just a couple of these like this. So when we click OK, now we go to our category. So we have the date category. So you can see those fields in the date category. You can see in the general category, and again in the new category, and you can go to all categories. Let's just go calling up. Also, by the way, you can also, even though the documents are closed, user-defined fields, again, can remain open, so you can actually go in here and put some information in here. So if I kind of do this, what's a numeric field, you can see, so add a numeric field, let's add a date, and so on. So we can do this, and then again, you can make these, you can see these are all visible and active, but if I go, again, to my tools, customization tools, and settings, I can make that end date here, I can make it visible but not active. So if I do that, you can see now that the end date got grayed out. I can't access it anymore. It's visible and active. That's also used a lot sometimes because with formatted searches, we're not really going to cover that in this training exercise, but you can create a formatted search, which is another function in SAP, which allows me to actually move data automatically into a field. So what I may do is I may have a user-defined field here for a date, and that there might be a user-defined field here in the business partner. So what I can do is I can take, say, for example, this information, like this type, or this one here, blue, and I want to say, okay, whatever is in the customer master, I want to bring over. I can do that with a formatted search. Similar to the way SAP works. So for example, if you look at your accounting, see here your terms are 2% net 10. Remember, that's coming from the business partner. So if I open up my business partner and I look at my terms, 2% net 10. So I can recreate that same process in SAP. Just like this kind of stuff, credit limits comes over to the orders, I can have some user-defined fields here for a different type or whatever. And then what I can do is I can, with a formatted search, I can bring that over. So if I do that, I may want to have that field grayed out so nobody can change it. But again, very simple to work with. just go turn that back on. Like that. Okay, and that kind of holds true on all the different fields. So let's recap what we went over today. We talked about a really nice functionality in SAP, out-of-the-box functionality called user-defined fields and user-defined tables. This is a way to create customization fields and tables within SAP that follows the functionality of standard SAP, but again, customized for your type of business. They can be done at the header records or the line records. They can be done in the master and almost really any document you can probably think of. I mean, if you want to do them in journal entries, they can be done. You can see here in the journal entries, I got them for fixed asset. They can be done at the header level up here or at the line level. And again, it follows the functionality of SAP. So for example, in SAP, we have certain types of fields here. So again, we can create an alphanumeric field. We just type information in like this. We can create a drop-down with choices. We can also create a drop-down link to a table. So you, just like SAP, you can have these choices, but also click to define new and open up. Okay, we can do telephone numbers. We can do numbers, numeric, and so on. We can create the information here, and we can store that in SAP. We can control how we want to see it. We want to show it on the left side by using this arrow, the right side, or the bottom. And again, you can see that functionality. So you can have a type or a field linked to that user-defined table. So what we're doing is we're customizing, again, right out of the box. No, it doesn't require any programming information. It can also be done in all the orders, in all the documents. Again, at the header record here, and also at the line record here. This one's here is a custom field. You can do that. You can control, again, the categories here. So you can create categories. So for example, you can do this. If you have a lot of user-defined fields, this makes it, again, easier for you what you want to see on the fields. Again, that's all done here under Tools. So what we do is we go into our Tools and our Customization Tools, and you can see here we have our user-defined tables, our user-defined fields, and again, when we open the document, we can look at our settings. If we open up the user-defined fields, you can see how we group everything, again, following that structure in SAP. We have master data. Master data would be business partners, items, general ledger accounts, and so on. You can see here, blanket agreements, campaigns. We have marketing documents. Again, marketing documents refers to all the sales orders, purchase orders. We can have it at the title and the header, the row. We can look at the movie charging freight. We can do it this way and so on. You can see the payment sign, the incoming and outgoing payments. Okay, we can do it on production. So on our bill of materials, again, we can customize our bill of materials headers and rows, our production orders, and almost anything in here you can do. There's my journal entries, my transactions, again, all my cost accounting, budget information, again, sales opportunity, and so on. Service and repair, here's my inventory. Again, a lot of stuff here. There's my fixed assets. And then the user-defined tables are actually in here. So what you would do is you would create your user-defined tables. And remember, after we create a user-defined table, we can then add user-defined fields to that user-defined tables. User-defined tables come when you create the table with a code and a name. So if all you need is a code and a name, you don't have to add an extra field. But in this case, you saw we created the user-defined field, came with a code and a name. I added another name, and then I just changed the first one to say first name and the second one to say last name, and so on. And again, that would just be here under Tools, Customization, User-Defined Tables. Best practices we recommend doing some type of logic when you create these. For example, having all mine start with MCG, Michell Consulting Group. Again, this is a standard practice with SAP. You can see third-party vendors or third-party add-ons. They'll do it this way. So, for example, you can see CoreSuite is using the COR and so on. Okay, so if you're dealing with a warehouse management or credit card or shipping add-on, again, you just want to do it that way. So again, here you just create your table, and by default, you're going to have those two codes. What you do then is, let's just look at the user-defined fields again. And you can have a variety of fields. Here we have the row level. Again, alphanumeric, just like typing, it's letters and numbers. Numeric would be a number. You can do a date field. Again, and a time field, you saw that. You can do quantities and units. You can do address fields and so on. So you can make those very simple. All we do here is we click add. Again, we give it our title. And then here is our types. So again, you can see alphanumeric, numeric, time and date. And when you do time and date, it gives you the structure. So do you want to do it as a date field or an hour field? Units and totals, again, you can do amounts, pricing, rates, percentages, measures, whatever you need here. And then just general, again, is a link. This is typically a link to like an image or so on, or just a standard link. You can make all your fields mandatory. So if you can make it mandatory, they have to enter something. You can set it to vault value. You can create the values right here in the actual table. Let's find one here. I guess I don't have one with there, so I'll just add one. Here what you can do is you can go here and then you can give it values to choose from. So you can set a limited amount of values so the user can actually pick the values. If you want to link it to a table, you would just go in and actually create it to that table. So you would go and then link it to the user-defined table here, and then you would go select that table we created. Again, you can see our little tables here. So we would actually do that so we can link it to a table. Okay, so that concludes our webinar today. Like I said, this webinar is being recorded. It will be available on our website. You can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this as well as the others in our training series. And we thank you for your time.